Welcome, ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Wednesday, the 29th of November. Good to have you aboard. Part of the Believe Podcast Network and presented as always by Anidjar and Levine, accident attorneys. 800-747-FREE, 800-747-3733. If you've been involved in any kind of an accident, you go where they're going to treat you like family and get you the compensation you deserve. Let Anidjar and Levine put their skills to work for you. First, you have an accident, you call 911. Then, Anidjar and Levine, accident attorneys, 800-747-FREE, 800-747-3733. Glad to have you aboard. It's the middle of the week. That's okay. We're still going to have a great time today. There's so much going on. If you can't tell, every night, you got the NBA, you got the NHL. Tomorrow, we got week 13 of the NFL season getting going. College basketball. Everything is in full stride. And BetOnline is your number one destination for all your sports wagering info with up-to-the-minute sports wagering news, odds, trends, predictions. BetOnline is the top spot for everything pro and amateur sports. And not just the big four. BetOnline, they have info available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access at any time for almost any sport that's played, from MMA to international soccer. Head to BetOnline today and remember to use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. So, apologize, a little bit of a late start today. Actually, I don't apologize, but the reason we're off to a little bit of a late start today, and this is one of the many cool things about ZASLOW Show 2.0, about me being able to do the show my way. Not that I was ever prevented from doing the show my way. I don't really mean it like that, but having the freedom and the flexibility to do whatever I want, to be in charge. And so on a day like today, had a meeting with a potential sponsor, met a nice couple. I'm hoping to have them on board the show very soon. I'm hoping I'll be able to give you some details of that. But I took a meeting this morning with a potential new sponsor for the show, and so everything gets pushed back just a little bit. So if you were wondering, man, it's like, where's ZASLOW Show 2.0? Because the show usually comes out like around noonish every day. It gets uploaded. And you're like, man, where's the show today? Is ZASLOW not doing a show? Of course I'm doing a show. There's so much going on. Of course I'm doing a show. But I get the flexibility of making sure that if we got to take a meeting, we're trying to get new sponsors on the show. And you guys know how this works. I'm never going to charge you guys for this show. It's never, ever going to happen. But the way that we keep the show free, you support the sponsors who support the show, and that's how we keep this thing going round and round, and everybody is happy. So anyway, had a really nice meeting today, and hopefully I'll be able to tell you guys a little bit more about it coming up. And if you're ever interested in getting involved in the show, you're a small business owner, JonathanZaslow@gmail.com. You can always hit me up. My DMs are wide open, baby. You can get involved in that if you want to. So anyway, all right, moving on to the sports stuff. I've had a good start to the day. Anyway, moving on to the sports stuff. NFL Week 13 gets going tomorrow. It's Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. You know how we do. We do good times and hard times, Daddy. We're going to tell you which NFL team fan bases right now are having good times and which are going through it and going through hard times right now. You got the Panthers from last night. You got the Heat from last night. That's where we're going to start, all right? Actually, all right, let me start with this before we get to the Heat. So there's a really weird story going on right now in the National Hockey League. And it's so odd how, like, I don't understand how this stuff gets going. So, and I was talking to Amber about this yesterday, sent her this story, you know? And everybody knows Connor Bedard, right? Connor Bedard he was the number one overall pick in the NHL draft. And superstar, like, looks as advertised. He's going to be a game changer. Blackhawks suck. It is what it is. But Connor Bedard, number one overall pick, plays for the Blackhawks. Now, they have a veteran on their team, borderline Hall of Famer, Corey Perry. Spent most of his career with the Anaheim Ducks. And this year, he is on Chicago. You know, you bring over a veteran like that to kind of help bring along the rookie, number one overall pick, that kind of deal. But anyway, try and help a young team that's been bad set a new culture. And the Blackhawks have been through scandal. I mean, it was a scandal that former Panthers head coach Joel Quenneville got caught up in 2 years ago, and the Panthers had to fire him in the middle of the season. Anyway, so Corey Perry, a few days ago, was away from the team. The team said it's a conduct issue, it's punishment, he's away from the team right now. Corey Perry's agent said it's a personal family issue. So, conflicting reports right there as it is. Then yesterday, the Chicago Blackhawks released Corey Perry. Straight up cut him, which is not something you would do to a borderline Hall of Fame player. And so he's been cut, and the rumor, and this is a heavy rumor that is on social media, is that, so you know how NHL teams do dad's trips, all right? Matter of fact, who was it the other day that was here? Was it Boston? Yeah, when Boston was at the Panthers, they were doing their dad trip, where the dads of all the players accompany the team, usually on a 2 or 3 game trip. So this one, it's like, yeah, let's do it through Florida. Great weather, whatever, wintertime. Tampa Bay, Florida, the dads come on the trip. The players bond with the fathers all bond with each other. It's really cool. Some teams do a mother's trip as well. So recently, do you know where this is going? So recently, the Chicago Blackhawks did a mother's trip. And the very hot rumor on social media right now is that Corey Perry slept with Connor Bedard's mother. Corey Perry's probably close to 40 years old. Connor Bedard's 18. So I have no idea how old the mother is, but they're probably close in age. I mean, the mother's probably early to mid 40s, right? Very similar age, close to age as Corey Perry. And the Blackhawks released Corey Perry yesterday, and in a detailed press release, they released him for conduct detrimental to the team. He can't be around this team, blah, blah, blah. And it's clearly not a performance issue. And social media is going crazy that he slept with Connor Bedard's mother. And that's what. Now remember, years ago, you had the whole Delonte West, LeBron James, and that he slept with LeBron's mother. We'll never know if it's true or not. But that's something that everybody knows, whether it's true or not, and it's sticking with Delonte West. Yesterday, the Blackhawks general manager had a press conference. Think about it. He had a press conference talking about the team releasing Corey Perry. Like, who the hell cares? You released a player. All right. And he addressed in the press conference the disgusting rumors, he said, about what's going on and that none of it's true. I don't know. How does this rumor start? How does it start if it's not true? And even if it isn't true, it's probably not true. But how does that rumor start? Like, who's the first person who says, yeah, you know what? I'm going to put it out there that Corey Perry's banged Connor Bedard's mother. We'll see if it grows any legs. And it's all over the place now. And so now, until it's actually addressed head on, everyone for the rest of Connor Bedard's career, and in remembering Corey Perry as well, are going to think that Corey Perry slept with Connor Bedard's mother. The same way that all of us now, because it was never actually dealt with, think that Delonte West slept with LeBron James's mother. It's such a weird story. Like, how do we go from the leap to the reason he's being let go is because he slept with Connor Bedard's mother? We could have come up with any kind of reason. It's so strange. I don't think we're ever going to actually find out. But this Chicago Blackhawks franchise, they can't escape scandal. It's really crazy. Anyway, we'll get to the Panthers in a second here. A weird experience. I had a weird experience with the Panthers last night. So, last night was one of those nights. Unfortunately, not only did we not get the double dip, we got the double dick punch. And that's when both the Heat and Panthers lose on the same nights. So I got to take my son, my older son, Corey, I got to take him to soccer training, Weston Select, all right? And so I decide, all right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to watch the Heat game first, and I'm recording the Panthers, and then I'll watch the Panther game afterward, after the Heat game's over, when I'm home by then. So I watched the Heat game, and let's talk about the Heat first, and then I'll circle back and I'll get to the part that was really weird. So the Heat lose last night, all right? I watched the whole Heat game, and then I watched the Panther game. So I watched the Heat game in my car on my iPad while I'm at my son's training. And then, of course, the Heat got the big TV in the ZASLOW Mansion family room. Now, first of all, in-season tournament TNT game last night. Shaq. I don't know if Shaq has ever done an NBA broadcast like that. He wasn't in studio. He was doing the game alongside Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller. Kevin Harlan, amazing, one of the all-time greats. I'm not a big fan of Reggie Miller on the broadcast. And then you got Shaq. And if I could tell you, Shaq, I thought, was excellent. I don't know if he's done this before. I thought he was excellent. And the key was he was funny. He's doing his whole Shaq shtick, and we'll get to that coming up. But he was, my favorite part, Shaq loves calling out the officials. Oh my God. And not only does he love calling out the officials, so early in the game is a bad call made, and Shaq says, can we get fined for talking about referees? And they tell him no. So the rest of the game, he is so critical of the referees, and he mentions the referees by name when he busts on them. Can we get fined if we talk about referees? He's mentioning them by name. It was so cool. It was so funny. He was on those guys. I thought overall Shaq was excellent. And here's the thing. Even though I don't love Reggie Miller on the broadcast, see, I don't think Shaq would be good in this spot if he's the only analyst. I think the fact that Shaq can be the third guy, and Shaq doesn't have to actually analyze the game, because he's not good at that. None of those guys, except Kenny Smith, none of those guys on TNT, Barkley and Shaq, they don't analyze the game. They're not, that's not their thing. They're not good at that. So having Reggie there, who could do more of that stuff, and having Shaq just be Shaq. If Shaq were the only analyst, I don't think it would have went well. But he could just be Shaq. And he's having fun with Reggie. And the fact that they went against each other in the 2000 NBA Finals was huge because Shaq was able to continuously reference that, and so was Reggie. Shaq's busted on Barkley throughout the broadcast and all of it. And, of course, Shaq is doing his usual Shaq thing, is making sure everybody knows how great he was when he played. I love Shaq so much. There's this one clip, and I retweeted it earlier today, and I said I quote tweeted. That's when you tweet something out, but you also have a comment. That's a quote tweet. And so I quote tweeted this video of Shaq before the game yesterday. And it's two young fans. They're probably brothers, and they're probably like, I'd say 6 and 9 years old. And they're hugging Shaq. The older one, Shaq, oh my God, I love you. I love you, Shaq. And Shaq, who is always so amazing and so gracious with his fans, especially kids, because Shaq was always a big kid, you know? He's always so gracious with them. And so I tweeted out, and I say, I know I do this all the time, but I have to tell you, I love Shaq so much. He's one of a kind. There's never going to be anyone like him. He's so incredible. He was great for the league, a great ambassador for the league, super serious, a monster on the court, but off the court, man, he was funny. He was a big kid, great personality, great smile. Never, ever, ever any trouble off the court. Movies, rapping, all of it. And now, in the broadcasting, where he's funny and he's such a great representative for the league, I love him so much. I've always been a big Shaq guy since his time with the Heat. And there were some years there where, you know, the Heat organization, Shaq, didn't get along because they had a bad falling out. I was so glad when they reconciled and Shaq's jersey and the Raptors where it should be. And like this Miami Heat franchise changed when Shaq got here. Like, yeah, the biggest thing was when Riley got here in 95 and then brings on Alonzo and all the Heat culture starts. But they went from being a good organization to a championship organization with Shaq. With Shaq, they became a championship organization the second that he arrived, where they immediately went to the conference finals, which at that point was just the second time in franchise history. 1997, the first time. than 2005 with Shaq, the second time they made the conference finals. And then, of course, they win their first ever championship the next year. I've always been a huge Shaq guy. And I know Shaq was difficult at times when he was here, button heads with Riley, because they're both such strong personalities. But I love him so much. He's so amazing to his fans. This holiday season, we're going to see the videos. Shaq just showing up to Best Buy, buying single mothers computers or whatever, holiday gifts. Remember that one time it was a family. They came to the dealership. They got like 8 kids and they need to buy a big van because they don't have enough room anymore. And Shaq bought them a van. He's so amazing. I'm never going to stop telling you how much I love Shaq. He's incredible, man. And I, there's no way these 2 little kids should really have any idea who Shaq is. Like I told you, maybe 6 and 9 years old. There's no reason they should know Shaq. But they do. And they love him. He's incredible, man. All right, I'm on his tip. What can I say? So the Heat last night, no Jimmy Butler last night. And look, the Heat fan probably leaves that game feeling pretty good about his favorite little basketball team because no Jimmy Butler. They were right there. Now, they got down 15-2, but then they make a big run. They were up by 4 or 5 after the third quarter, had 97 points after the third quarter. What, they finished at 122 or 124 last night? And the Heat were ahead 118-115 with a few minutes left of the game. Then Middleton hit a pair of big shots to give Milwaukee the lead, and that's all she wrote. Went a little bit cold there late in the game, which, by the way, you think the Heat are better without Tyler Hero? Keep being stupid, all right? You think the Heat are better off when they need a basket in the fourth quarter and they can't get one? You think they're better off without Tyler Hero? Stop being stupid. Now, there are really good things to take from last night. Mainly, this is the Heat. This is why they're not interested in giving up all their assets for one guy. Now, should they have done that for Damian Lillard? If they were allowed to, if that Joe Cronin wasn't such a cockroach, they may have done it. But this is why they're hesitant to just give up everything for one player, because they know. And even without Jimmy Butler there last night, they're going to be right there, man. They dropped to 10-8. They're going to finish, and they've lost, 4 of their last 5 now, right? They dropped to 10-8, and they're going to finish top 5, maybe top 6 in the East. And they're going to be right there. They're going to be a bitch for Philadelphia or for Milwaukee or for Boston, like they always are. Like they always are. This is why they're hesitant to just give up the farm for any one player individual. Because they know the way they do things, whatever seed they are, they're going to be a bitch to get out in the postseason. And so you saw some of that again last night. So there are good things for the Heat to take, or for the Heat fan, I should say, to take from last night's game. But I will say this. I don't take moral victories with this team. If you're the, Heat culture, toughest, nastiest, meanest, most best conditioned, hardest working team in the NBA, you don't take moral victories. That's not what this is about. The coach is always right when he says, we have enough. They usually do. I'm not trying to get moral victories. You can't go into the games and say we have enough and then take a moral victory. The Heat would never do that, and the Heat fans shouldn't either. I'm not trying to get moral victories. I only do real victories. So, yeah, there are positive things you could take from the game last night, but I'm not sitting here all happy because they got a moral victory in their 8th loss of the season. No. And some of those good things are, look, Bam's showing everybody. I love national TV games for stuff like this. Bam's showing everybody. And I think, in years past, Bam would put together a big game. And it's like, oh, this is what we're talking about. He's taking the next step. And then you don't see that guy again for a few games. I guess not. And then you get it again the next year. Oh, he's doing it. He's taking the next step. But you're not seeing it on a nightly basis. I really think we've seen enough now to say, yeah, it's here. He's taken it to another level now. It helps that Jimmy missed the beginning, or Jimmy was treating the beginning of the season like the preseason, and now Jimmy's missed a couple games here and there, and that Tyler's out as well, where Bam gets to do this. But I'm pretty sure everyone sees now, Bam's that dude. 31 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. I think we're here. I think we're in the place where Bam's that guy. 13 of 27 from the floor. 27 shots? Super aggressive. And just, the dream shake he had going on. And the aggression at the basket. Like, that's what we're talking about, man. Josh Richardson, another very strong performance. 20 points, 7 assists. Look, Kyle Lowry, man, 21 points and 6 assists. Lowry was excellent last night. And you know I don't want to tell you that Lowry was excellent, but he was excellent last night. And Jaime Jaquez Jr., 14 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 7 of 9 from the floor. How about the Heat needing a basket late in the fourth quarter, and Jaime Jaquez has the ball against Giannis Antetokounmpo? You think Eric Spoelstra trusts him? Jaime Jaquez is a stud, and I think everyone knows it now. This is why the Heat are not willing to just trade everybody, man. They're going to be right where they're supposed to be in the playoffs, and it's just going to come down to getting it done. So I don't take any moral victories, but I will tell you this. This is a positive also that comes out of the game, and this is something I said at the start of the season. Remember, I said at the beginning of the season that part of this regular season needs to be, even if it means maybe taking a step back wins-wise in the regular season, which I don't think they're going to end up doing, but part of this regular season needs to be about getting some of these guys ready for big roles in the postseason, right? That's what I said. Because you lost Gabe Vincent, you lost Max Strus, 2 finals starters last year, 2 major postseason secondary players to this team. Who's going to take those spots? Well, you can't just throw guys into that spot in the playoff. They need to get the experience. And Jimmy being out and Tyler being out is going to be a blessing for this team, because some of these guys, Jaquez Jr., Josh Richardson, he didn't play last night, but Haywood Highsmith, these are the guys I'm talking about. They need to get that experience in the regular season so they could be those guys in the postseason who make up for the loss of Strus and Vincent, and they will, and they're getting that experience. So that is a positive you could take from last night, but these guys are getting the experience right now, and it's going to pay off huge for them in the postseason. And it's not just their confidence, but it's the confidence guys like Jimmy, Lowry, Bam will have trusting those guys, getting those guys the ball in big spots. You're going to be able to trust them. That game had great intensity to it. And I loved that the broadcasters were gushing over it, man. That game had a great feel to it. It's why the in-season tournament works. So because the Heat lost last night, the Heat needed to win last night and a New York loss. Once you knew LaMelo Ball was out, New York was going to win. So you needed to beat Milwaukee by at least 15 and have the Knicks lose by at least, and if the Knicks were going to win, have the Knicks win by 7 points fewer than what the Heat won by. Well, the Knicks were smoking Charlotte the whole game. Like, they're up 20 the whole game. It's like, okay, so the Heat are going to have to win this game by 30? That's not happening. So you knew once the fourth quarter started, the Heat weren't advancing in the tournament. But it's still a regular season game. It's still, like, you still got to go out and win it, all right? So the tournament, though, overall, and you had the box scores on top TNT, treating it like the NCAA tournament, treating it like the March Madness. You had the broadcasters talking about point differential on a random Tuesday in November. Everyone was locked into all the games going on and the point differentials. This in-season tournament, and the crowds were great. This in-season tournament, major success. I was doubtful. I was a game-time decision going into that first tournament game. Am I going to care about it? And once that game out, I was like, you know what? I think I care about it. And then as the games go on, and I told you, we're going to get to that fourth game against Milwaukee, and that game's going to have juice to it. Well, guess what? It had a lot of juice last night, and throughout the league, the in-season tournament, you know I'm critical of Adam Silver, but the in-season tournament, major, major success. Gotta be fair. Gotta be fair. So, I'm into it. And I'll tell you what else. Now what's going to happen is you're going to have suggestions, right, on what to do with the tournament, what they should do next, how they could tweak it, how they could change it. Here's my change. I add a second one. I'd do it again. I would have, in soccer, you got tournaments in season all the time. I would have this tournament right now in November, early part of the year, kind of combat football, that kind of deal. You know, it's part of it. And we know there's a TV rights deal element to it as well, because the NBA's TV rights are coming up. And so they want to be able to sell just the in-season tournament to maybe a provider. Sell two of them. I would have a second in-season tournament. This could be the blank NBA blank in-season tournament. And then you do one in February or March. You have the NBA blank in-season tournament. You have two championships. Two in-season tournament championships. Why not? Every team is one way, playing one way at the beginning of the season. A few months later, you're a different kind of team. Maybe you've made a trade. You're a different kind of team at that point. So there's going to be all kinds of ideas how to tweak this tournament. I would add a second. I would do it twice throughout the year. And if it's going to get garner interest, more interest, if it's going to have the guys playing harder, why not add another? Now, the whole reason that they do it to get guys to play hard, that's a whole nother thing. I don't like that reason being why they made this tournament. Because they want to get the players to try, and they want to get the players to care. The regular season games, they should be trying and they should be caring. So I can't give everybody all the credit, because part of the reason they're doing this is because the players don't care. I wish we didn't have to deal with that issue. But it is what it is. They seem to be caring more with these games. So if that's the case, why don't we do it twice? And, I mean, look, I wish more games felt like they meant something. The tournament had great intensity to it, especially the last couple of games. But the reason they don't feel that way, or the reason that we enjoyed what we saw the last few days so much, was because it's so different from the regular season games, and that part I have a problem with. And it's also why I've really gravitated toward the Florida Panthers the last year. Now, I've always loved the Florida Panthers since day one in 1993. I haven't missed a Panther game in 15 years. I haven't. But it's why over the last few years, Panthers got big TV in the ZASLOW Mansion family room sometimes over the Heat. They do. Because in the NBA, you don't know what nights they're going to care. And they take nights off all the time. In the NHL, never. Never, ever. Everyone plays every game. No minutes restrictions. No load managements. No ramping up into shape. None of that shit. I mean, you had fighting all over the place with the Panthers a couple nights ago. 13 guys got misconduct penalties. You don't think they care? They care very, very much in the NHL. It's why I've gravitated so much toward Panther games when the Heat are playing at the exact same time. Doesn't mean the Heat aren't number one for me. They're always going to be number one for me. But the Panther regular season, for a few years now, much better than Heat regular season. Much better. Not even close. And that's why they had to make this in-season tournament. But look, in-season tournament, major, major, major success. And I definitely hope one of the smaller teams win. So here's what you have. The four teams that made it out of the East. It's New York versus Milwaukee, New York at Milwaukee, and Boston at Indiana. Those are the quarterfinal games. The 2 winners of those games go to Vegas for the semifinals. So it's New York at Milwaukee, Boston at Indiana. And in the West, you have Phoenix at the Los Angeles Lakers and New Orleans at Sacramento. So you're going to get New Orleans or Sacramento in the West final. And those games will be in Vegas. And then you'll have the final. So I hope one of the smaller teams win. Like Indiana, New Orleans, Sacramento. Not Indiana, because fuck them. But like, I hope one of the smaller teams win. That'll be fun. That's the idea behind the tournament, is that, all right, maybe you're not good enough to win the entire postseason, but depending on what group you get, you may be able to win this in-season tournament. You get a trophy, a banner. I don't know how that's going to work. Money. Even, you know what would even be fun? If New York won it. I would even take New York winning it. You know why? Because that will be fun. To make fun of the Knicks. To make fun of the Knicks fan. That's the only championship they could win, is the in-season tournament. I hope one of the small teams win. Not Indiana, fuck them. New Orleans or Sacramento. But otherwise, I would take New York winning it. Because making fun of the Knicks fan, put up your in-season trophy banner. Put up your banner there. You haven't won a championship in 6,000 years. Dinosaurs roamed the earth. The last time, the Mecca won anything. Madison Square Garden. Go put your in-season tournament banner up there, Knicks fan. Go do it. I dare you. That will be fun. So I'm all for that, actually. But overall, man, in-season tournament, major success. Love it.